to try to be quick. Last year, I'm gonna be honest, y'all know I'm always honest, I was on PST and I did not properly implement it because I didn't know what to do because they had changed it so many times. And I kept asking them and they didn't know. I didn't know, so whatever. But anyway, this year it is our goal to properly implement PST, which we know PST stands for the Problem Solving Team. To get started, if everyone could take out their phone and copy this QR code. And what I need you to do is put in one word. When you hear the word PST, what word comes to your mind when you hear the word PST? What word comes to your mind? Just put one word in. So when you hear the word PST, what comes to your mind? I need everyone to enter one word for me. It asks for your name. You can skip that part, but I want everyone to tell me what comes to mind when you hear PST. It's not working.
It was.
Okay, then put it back. Y'all got it? Because I said it worked when we tried it just a second ago. If it's working, those of you that's working for you, go ahead and do it. If not, we can still, those of you that can do.
The page is not plugged in.
Also at the end of the table, there's a PST manual that each one of you can get. So each person needs to get a PST manual. There are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 strategies and interventions at the end of the tables, and a sheet of white paper that you will need. So make sure that you pick up one of those. There should be some on each, at the end of each table. A PST manual, a copy of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 instructions, and a sheet of white paper. Alright, so if I could have everyone's attention back so we can move along quickly. Alright, so let's look at some of the words. Let's look at some of the words that we have when we hear the word PST. We have problem, struggles, progress, help, preventative, I like that, resource solution, accountability, paperwork, intervention, structure, solutions. Very good. So all of those are good words that come up when you think about PST. And then I'm not sure how this works. I don't know, more people chose paperwork and intervention, and that is true. So when we talk about PST, it does most definitely entail intervention and paperwork. Those are the two biggest things there. All right, so let's look at our learning outcomes, what we should get real quickly. And what learning outcomes we should get is what tiered instruction is. And I do expect y'all to pay attention because we do have a little Kahoot game at the end, and there are a couple of incentives for those of you, our top 3 winners. So what is tiered instruction? What 5 elements should be seen in tier 1 instruction on a day-to-day basis? What is PST? Who should be referred to PST? And when should students be referred to PST? These are our learning outcomes and objectives for today that you should get with PST. All right, so our during strategy. Ms. Page just went through the cycle of instruction. We know that every day we should have some type of bell work or during and the after, okay? So our bell work was our word cloud that you all just did. Everyone, it should be a sheet of paper at the end of your desk. Everyone gets your sheet of paper. You can fold it into a trifold. And we're going to do a KIM strategy. It's called KIM. So in one column, you're going to put a K. In the middle column, you're going to put an I. And in the last column, you're going to put an M. So where the K is, you're going to write down key ideas. So for example, PST, tier 1, tier 2, those will be your key ideas. Then the information would be, what is PST? What is tier 1? What is tier 2? And then the memory clue would be something that you can put in that column that will help you remember, okay, well, what is tier 1? What is tier 2? So on and so forth. So if everyone could take a second to make a trifold. Again, this strategy we're using is called the KIM strategy. The K is for key ideas. I for information, and the M for memory clues. So, if it is somewhere, let me find it. Here you go. Here you go.
Thank you.
Ms. Boyd just went over some different strategies that can be used. This is a strategy that can be used, but we want to make sure we incorporate these things. There are certain things we should see in your classroom every day, your before, your during, your after, things of that nature. So again, the K is for key idea, the I is for information, and the M is for memory clue. Everybody's different. One person may have one way to remember something, and somebody else may have a different way. All right, everybody good right here? Can I move on? No? Okay. All right, so when we talk about PST, again, like I was stating earlier, they use several different terms. They say MTSS, PST, whichever the case may be. But MTSS is the multi-tier support system. It is about the successful, effective, and consistent implementation of evidence-based practice. So we want to make sure on a day-to-day basis we are giving high-quality instruction to our students. Again, successful and effective, and the key word is to be consistent with how we implement the different strategies that we do in our class each and every day. Yesterday we talked about the lessons. They talked about PST yesterday. You have to be flexible and understand what your students understand, what they do not understand, and be willing to adjust in the middle of your lesson. All right, so what are instructional tiers? As you all know, and I know everyone knows right now, there are 3 tiers of instruction: tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. These tiers serve as the overall framework of how instructional practices should be implemented in the classroom. All right, a term that we look at, you can put this, remember you have your trifold, so one of the words we can look at is high quality instruction, okay? What is high quality instruction? High quality instruction deals with the curriculum that is standards based. You need to be teaching your standards. We have a pacing guide. You have standards that the state expects you to teach. Now, how you teach it may vary from class to class, but you do need to make sure that it's standards based, okay? It needs to be engaging. Find a way to engage your students. Culturally responsive and deliver using evidence-based technique, teaching practices, and strategies. So every day we should see high quality instruction. Some days, again, you may have to go back and reteach. You have to implement different strategies, but make sure that you are looking at your students, seeing different types of assessments, see who's catching on and who's not, so that you make the modifications that you need to make. At the end of the table, there was a paper that had different strategies on it. There are several different strategies that you can use for each tier. So you all should have that, and if not, there's some more around here on the table somewhere. But we want to make sure that we're doing these things, okay? Again, on your trifold, make sure you're putting out your key terms, your information, and a clue that will help you remember what these things are when dealing with PST. All right, in the classroom, there are some things that we should see every day in Tier 1 instruction. Every day, there are 5 things we should see. Tier 1 instruction should take place in your classroom. 1, you should have 1 or more standards-based outcomes. So the way that I put your learning outcomes on the board, you need to have the outcomes or the objective on the board every day. Students should know what they're learning. Maybe 1 standard, maybe 2 standards. That is something that we should see daily. Some of you put it on your PowerPoint, put it on your boards for us too, because you know you went over it at the beginning of the class, but we weren't in there at the beginning. So make sure it's on the board as well so we can know what standard that you're covering that day, okay? All right, 2, instructional strategies. You should have at least 2 instructional strategies. You are teaching a large group of children. Everyone does not learn the same way, so make sure you're incorporating different strategies for the students to learn. 3, the 3 parts of a purposeful lesson is the before, the during, and the after. Your students should know when they come in every day what to do. They should know, okay, let me get started on our before activity. You tell them the objectives. You have your during and your after. Before, we did a word cloud, right? During, we're doing our KIM method, correct? All right, and after we're doing the Kahoot. So this is something that should be done every day in class. The 4 steps to explicit instruction, I do. So as the teacher, you do it first. We do it together. Y'all do it. So I may say, okay, this table work together, this table work together, and then you do. At some point, you need to be able to do it yourself. oftentimes I, go in classroom, the children understand great as long as you're working together. But then when you put them by themselves, you really get to see, okay, well, she may not understand as much as the other person. So that's another thing. And let me say this. This year, as Ms. Payne stated, we have 5 teachers for 6th grade, 5 teachers for 7th grade. Things are going to be different. Dr. Barry did an awesome job yesterday working with us. One way to maintain your classroom, y'all know, is he walked around the whole time. He walked around the whole time. If you're walking around because the classroom's gonna be large, the children never know when you're coming back. So they're less likely to get into stuff that they're not supposed to be in. So we wanna make sure that we're doing that on a day-to-day basis. All right, and 5 components of active literacy will make sure our children are reading, writing, talking, listening, and investigating. So these are things, when we're talking about Tier 1 instruction, these are things that we should see on a daily basis in your classroom, okay? So remember, when using your Kim diagram, you can put Tier 1 over to the side and put your information in the middle, okay? And 5 components we should see daily in class. All right, so what is an intervention? An intervention, again, this could be one of your keywords, is a specific academic and or behavioral strategy that differs from the activities that are occurring in the student's classroom. So when we talk about intervention, so let's say, for instance, I've done my Tier 1 instruction, right? And let's say Ms. Dow does not understand something. I need to have a specific intervention for Ms. Dow. What is it that Ms. Dow does not understand? When we say a strategy that differs, I need to give her something different that I didn't give everybody else, okay? So we want to make sure that we are doing this and we are providing this for our children. All right, so we can know that, again, you have to assess the children. You have to walk around. You have to see who's paying attention, who's not. Ask questions. Don't raise hands, because like Ms. Barnes said yesterday, you raise hands, the same 2, 3 children raise hands. The same 2 or 3. Okay, so we want to call the children, use equity statistics. They have a program in the vision board. You can click on it, pick a child's name randomly. We want to make use of these things so that we can make sure that we know if our students are learning. All right, so Tier 1 instruction is the first delivery of high quality instruction. This is our first delivery. Teachers collect formative data to determine if reteaching and retesting should occur. So our before, during, and after. Our after at the end of the day, and even while you're teaching, if you do an exit flip or something, you should be able to determine, okay, did the students understand, did they not understand? Tomorrow I'm supposed to move on, but do I really need to move on, or do I need to go back and reteach? These are things that we have to be able to gauge based on what we're doing. We need to make sure that the Tier 1 instruction is the root of instruction. That's where they're getting the main information, the meat that they need. Whenever you're doing Tier 1 instruction, 80% of your students should retain this first delivery of instruction. Ms. Payne said this earlier. If I give a test and the majority of the class fail, we may need to go back and reevaluate ourselves, okay? And that's okay. We do have to do that and say, okay, well, what did I do wrong? We don't need to move forward. So again, Tier 1 instruction, we have our high quality instruction. It's the root of instruction, and 80% of our students should be able to retain the information when we do Tier 1 instruction. All right, Tier 2 instruction. So after we've done our Tier 1 instruction, we have our students work and we move to Tier 2. When we move to Tier 2, we're identifying those students that may need that extra help, that extra support, or those interventions. This instruction is provided by the teachers. Tier 1 and Tier 2 instruction is provided by the teacher. It's targeted instruction, it's expedited instruction, and it should not be any more than 15% of your students. Again, if it's more than that, you may need to go back and reteach that lesson in a different way. And we've been a teacher before. I taught before and said, "Ooh, that didn't go good." You have to be honest with yourself. And I had to go back and figure out, okay, well, what do I need to change, okay? So again, it should not be more than 15% of your students. Tier 1 and Tier 2 instruction is done by the general education teacher. All right, last, Tier 3 should be no more than 5% of your students. This intervention becomes more focused. It becomes more focused and more intense, okay? It is provided outside of the regular classroom, okay? This can be provided by, we have Ms. Hastings, she works with reading. Ms. Stammer works with math. Ms. Rorsey this year will be working as instructional specialist. We could ask some of the special ed teachers to, pull a few students to help. It's provided by our interventionists or reading or math coach, other skilled people in the area, okay? So this is where Tier 3's instruction is provided by someone outside the classroom. So again, your tier 1 and tier 2 is done by the teacher. If students still are not progressing, then we move into tier 3, and we're gonna get some additional help for that student, or for those students that need it. All right, so let's look at this video real quickly.
For our students with the greatest instructional needs, students receiving tier 2 and tier 3 services, we need to be sure that we are really focused on the extras that they need. One is the amount of time. They need more instructional time than the students who are succeeding in tier 1. Another way that we increase that intensity of services is to make the size of the group smaller so that we can be more intensive in our instruction. We need to narrow the focus of what we're teaching. Again, tier 1, we're teaching all of the standards. Once we go to tier 2, tier 3, we're narrowing down to some specific skills and strategies that the students need to be successful. Another way that we can increase the quality of the services is we just need to collect more data. When students are succeeding, we don't need as much data to inform our decisions. When they're struggling, we do need to do more assessments of the right kind to answer our questions. And the final way that we increase the intensity is the amount of expertise. A well-trained, competent, passionate teacher can handle a whole classroom at tier 1 level. Once we're at tier 2 and tier 3, we see increased collaboration across specialists working in partnership with the classroom teacher. So we have more expertise thinking about the needs of the students, planning for how to deliver the instruction, and even providing instruction to students.
All right, so here she kind of reiterated some of the things that we said. Our tier 1 and tier 2 instruction, our tier 1 is the main instruction, but when we get to tier 2 and tier 3, we're being more specific, more intense, and that does entail different things. For more people, maybe more time, smaller groups, and things of that nature. And the thing is, even with the activity Ms. Boyd just had us doing, where she said, you go to one that I should care, and I know, sharing the word. Sometimes students, that could be a tier 2 instruction, because I may have worded it one way, and you may not understand, but I may, as a student, be able to talk to Ms. Dow as another student, and she may be able to explain it to me in a different way. So those things that you may not think are interventions are ways to get students to learn as well. All right, so when we talk about when should a child be referred to the PST, this is the question. All right, students should be referred to PST team after 35 days of specific targeted tier 2 instruction with no improvement. So here we go. When school starts next week on Monday, when school starts, everyone, tier 1 instruction, we're teaching, hoping that our students are catching on, right? But let's say, for instance, you notice next 2 weeks you have a test. Okay, this child didn't catch on, this child didn't catch on. They're in tier 1. By the time week 3 of school comes, you should say, okay, well, I noticed that Krishana is not catching on, so I'm going to move her to tier 2 instruction, right? When you move me to tier 2 instruction, I tried to print a paper, y'all, I'm going to go print in just a second. You have to document the interventions that you are giving Krishana for 35 days under tier 2 instruction, okay? So tier 1 should be approximately 15 days. I give you the first 3 weeks of school, okay? After the first 2 weeks of school, if Krishana, you see that I'm struggling, we're moving to tier 2 intervention. Tier 2 should be last for 35 days, okay? So after those 35 days, if you see that the student still is not learning, then we'll move to tier 3 and reach out to the PST team. Now, you do have to have documentation. I have a form. You can fill out the form showing the type of interventions that you gave. Also, we know progress reports, tests, diagnostic tests and things of that nature are also types of evidence to show that the child does need extra assistance. But a child does have to be in tier 2 and receive specific interventions for at least 35 days before they can be referred to tier 3 or to the problem solving team. So when should tier 2 instruction begin? I stated immediately, because we don't want the students, and we're talking about tier 2, tier 1 is first, then we follow by tier 2. Says teachers should begin tier 2 instruction after observing students for 3 weeks, 15 days. Their students' performance steadily declines and they are showing no improvement. PST sometimes we think is for academics, but it is also for behavior as well, okay? So PST is used for academics as well as behavior. Again, if you see that I am struggling the 4th, 5th week of school, you wait too late to start those interventions. So we want to start providing students with these interventions as soon as possible. Yes, ma'am.
Do absences count in the days? Do we document that they're absent? Could that be a part of why they're low? Or do we still have to do 15 days even if they were absent?
Okay, so absenteeism we know does affect students' academic achievement. However, whether or not they count towards the days, I'm going to have to ask Dr. B because I'm not sure, okay? So I will ask him and let him know because that's a good question. I do not know, but that's a good question. So I will let you all know because that's a good, do the days go on or do we have to, pick up when they come back to school? So I will find out, Ms. Poland. All right, special education PST. Oftentimes people think, because I've heard. Yes, sir.
On those 35 days consecutive, say you got a child in tier 2, then they bring the grade up and they're good for 5 days or 6 days, 6 classes, then they're dropping down again.
Okay.
Did that be consecutive or was it,
They are consecutive, but they are consecutive. If a child starts doing better after 5 days, you don't want to move them yet off the tier 2
Okay.
intervention. That's too soon to move them.
Okay.
Children can move between different tiers of instruction. They can, but 5 days is not enough time.
so I have to be
to-
confident in this week.
Say that again.
So I have to have, I guess it's my judgment call if I'm confident they're gonna make it or.
I would give them, honestly, Mr. Alexander, I would give them, you just go and give them the whole 35 days because you don't want to make a move too fast. Because if you make a move too fast, then they're going to start back declining.
Okay.
They can get off of tier 2 instruction, but you want to give them enough time to make sure that they understand. But let's say, for instance, they are doing better, and then you move them back to tier 1, you stop doing that intense instruction. When you move back to tier 1, if they start back declining, then you know that that's where their child needs to be, and they're going to need those extra interventions. Okay?
And can you just pick back up from those days, or does it start over?
It's not a-
Do you just, or do you
It-
just, say I did 20 days,
Mhm.
and I think, but after another 10 days, and I put them back, do I start at 21,
Mhm.
or do I start at 1?
Let me ask Dr. Bailey that question as well.
Can I say
And
something?
Ms. Poland, yes, ma'am, hold, Ms. Poland, Ms. Poland, write those 2 questions down for me real quick.
Ms. Coleman,
Ma'am,
I would continue on because when you're.
I'm
doing
just
those-
asking for the whole.
Yeah, because when you're doing those strategies, you need to continue the strategies. That's what I would think, keeping them going forward in the right direction. So I would say continue the strategies with them to make sure you're solid. When you say the same thing.
Yes, ma'am,
make sure you're solid.
but like I said, and y'all do have makers, NMA will tell you that they can, move off tier 2 and go back to tier 1. But then, like I said, if they go back to tier 1 and they're not able to function in that general environment, then you will have to put them back in tier 2 and make sure they receive those interventions and strategies, as she stated.
Yeah, I was wondering about if it keeps.
Write it down for me, sir.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I was
All right,
listening.
and when I get the answer, I will let you all know. All right, so oftentimes I hear teachers say, well, we need to do PST so we get them in SPED. The point of PST is so they hopefully won't have to be referred to SPED, okay? So PST is not a fast track to SPED. In fact, it is the opposite. SPED students are not referred to PST because they receive interventions through the special education department, okay? So our special education students are not referred to PST. That's something that you need to know, all right? So, at this time, do we have any questions, just for Ms. Alexander?
Yes, right. Can my tier 2 happen in the enrichment?
What, you say, can it happen in enrichment?
Yeah.
What do you
Do they
mean?
have to specifically be in that class? If I have that student in my enrichment class, can I do my tier 2 and do an enrichment?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. In whatever class that you have them, that's when you're doing the interventions, when you have them. So, yes, sir.
Okay.
Your enrichment is math and reading, isn't it? You're that
Should
child?
be math, reading, and science.
But I can pick,
Everybody
the
does,
social studies
yeah.
is reading.
Yeah.
A lot of my things is reading.
Enrichment is tier 2.
All right, so real quickly, let's check for understanding. So everyone, we're gonna log into Kahoot real quickly. And remember, there are some incentives, so let's try to do our best. Let's check for understanding. I will give y'all, in just a second, I'll probably put it in y'all box, I'm gonna run off the documentation form for you all to document for your students for PST. Alright, so here's our pin for the game. Let's log in. See how much you all learned today, or do I need to refer you all to PST?
I'm in sped.
Okay, one teacher's in sped, so Miss Dunlap, Miss Bo, when will y'all be bringing those IPs around for us to sign?
Yeah.
Well, here, he just identified himself.
I need tier 2.
All right, I'm gonna give you all about another minute to get logged in. We have all types of people. Babs. Who is that? They not do it. Oh, they do it.
Isn't it in Clever for who?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes.
Alright, I don't remember how to.
All right. 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds. Everybody should be in.
No.
15 seconds, and we will be getting started.
I can't get in.
All right, and let's get started. All right, question number 1.
I'm still low.
Okay, here it is, you guys. Oh, what does PST stand for?
It didn't give us no answer to it.
It's up here.
Oh. I told y'all I was sped. See, y'all ain't good. Y'all ain't good team, baby.
That's okay.
Y'all ain't right.
He told you he was big.
Right. Y'all gonna make fun of me.
All right, let's see. All right, very good. PST stands for Problem Solving Team. Everyone should have gotten that correct. All right, next. Oh, hold up.
Yeah.
Okay, Hodge, hold it. Oh, it's the kid. Okay, I don't know where about it. All right, next. All right, Hodge, hold it. All right, sped students should be referred to PST when.
Y'all answering too fast.
We just went over this. Never. Very good. The special education students should not be referred to PST because they receive services through the special education department. All right, then go ahead and reteach. Let's see, 2, 4,
I'm
5.
17.
That's always 15%. I need to move to tier 2. I see. All right, let's see. The kid bounds hard. All right, let's keep it going. True or false? There are 3 daily elements to tier 1 instruction. True or false? Oh my God!
Reteach?
Yeah.
There are 5.
Oh yeah.
There are 5.
I done jumped
not
up.
3. Remember, you have to have
jumped
your
up.
standards on the board. You have to have your
jumped
structural strategies every day. It's 50%.
I done jumped up.
You have to have your before, during, and after strategy. That's 3. You have to have 4. I do, we do, y'all do, you do, and then your components of literacy. All right, so let's see. The kid? Oh, it's the kid. All right, that's
Nobody
all right.
want to be the
Next. I feel like that's who it is too. What does high quality instruction look like? What does high quality instruction look like?
Yeah.
All right, very good. All of the above. High quality instruction is standards based, engaging, and culturally responsive. Very good. Very good. All right, we're moving on to the next question. Okay, back. Okay. Next. When should students be referred to PST?
Oh yeah. I'm in there. Yeah. I'm winning. Let me see. 3. Oh, I got 7 seconds left. Oh yeah. See, I'm moving up now.
Okay,
I'm
35
moving up.
days after tier 2
I'm
instruction.
moving up.
Students are not referred to PST until tier 1 and tier 2 has been done, and that's done by the general education team.
Tier 2 should
So it
start
should be-
immediately.
Yes, tier 2 should start immediately. They're not referred to PST until after 35 days of tier 2 instruction being done. All right?
I'm moving up now. Where I'm at. Yeah, Skip. Yeah, I am. Parmesan.
Oh my God. She's moving on up out of state, you guys. You got on the way to the general box.
Yeah, I'm up
All right,
there.
next. How many students should retain first delivery of instruction? How many students should retain first delivery of instruction?
Yeah. I'm just in that gym for sure. You know, I know what's going on.
All right, 80%, very good. The answer is 80%. 80% of students should retain tier 1 instruction.
Oh yeah, where the kid at?
Hey, watch your mouth.
Oh, the kid. We now know who the kid is. All right, next. Kid that fell off. True or false? An intervention is a specific strategy that differs from activities occurring in the classroom. That should be on your Kim diagram.
I need this one to be right. I need this one to be right. Oh yeah. People scared to answer.
All right, true. An intervention is a specific strategy. It has to be different from what you have done with the whole group. That is what an intervention is, okay?
Move up.
All right, let's see. All right, Babs, SG, 7G, okay? Everybody done fell off. All right, hey, the last shall be first. I'm trying to tell you. Who should be referred to PST? Who should be referred to PST?
It was A and B.
You didn't put an A in
You didn't put
it.
A in it.
I'm gonna pick it though. Cause I think it's right. I'm gonna pick it though.
Oh, I thought it was kind of a.
I'm gonna pick it. Don't worry about it.
Because you read from left to right. You read from left to right. You read from left to right. A, B,
Still ain't
C, D.
moving up.
Very good. Go A and B. Students who fail, so you are the students who failed last school year. Students that are in 6th grade, they are should automatically be referred to PST. Okay, those students who failed last year. Also, students who are struggling. When you see that they're struggling, again, we're gonna start our tier 2 intervention. Then after 35 days, we're referring to PST if they're not improving. Okay. Again, don't give me any student and don't fail any students at the end of the school year. You didn't give us no paperwork. Now, if you don't want to do paperwork, all right. Anyway, next. All right, Bam, SG, the kid is coming back. Okay.
But
All right. I think this is the last question, so you better try to answer
Hold
a
on.
little
Hey,
fast.
I'm in special ed.
All right,
Fourth
next.
place is first.
Last.
Good job.
PST is for academics only. PST is for academics only.
I needed that one. Let's go.
Oh, no,
Yeah. Yeah, 4th place is like first.
All right, very good. False. PST is for academics as well as what? Behavior. Very good. So let's see who our winners are. 3rd place.
Oh.
Coming in 3rd place, we have Babs. Babs, can you come up and get this? Who is Babs? Oh, Miss McMillan! Give Miss McMillan a round of applause.
Woo!
All right, let's see. Hold up. Runners up is Parmesan and the kid. No, sit down, baby. All right. Who is second place? 7G. Who is that? Miss Shetson.
Hey! Woo, 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 woo.
And for our first place winner, SG, who is Miss Garcia. Miss Garcia that came here and showed out on y'all. All right, you guys. So we will be having PST meetings once a month this year. Please make sure that you're doing what you can to help your students. PST model is every child, every chance, every day. So we want to make sure we are providing the opportunity to our students. Thank you all for your time. Have a great one.
That was awesome. That was awesome.